In the dark, the whispers the weeks leading up to Garrison Brown's untimely death were tense in Flagstaff. Inside the confines of the Brown family's broken life, tensions had reached their silent crescendo, even though no one outside the family believed a storm was building. With the shades shut and her phone in her shaking hands, Robyn Brown sat by herself in her room. Garrison Brown was still faintly glowing on the caller ID. She never disclosed the call to anyone. Not even Cody. "What's the reason for your call?" That evening, Robyn had spoken in a low, icy whisper. On the other end, Garrison's voice cracked, broken but composed. "Because I must tell you this, not to Dad, to you." Months later, the phone recording, which was never intended to be heard, was leaked. Buried deep in Robyn's encrypted drive, the tape was discovered by a private investigator hired by one of the former wives during a custody battle. Everything fell apart when they discovered it. Garrison's last application. Garrison's voice was raspy with pain and hatred during the call. He didn't plead. He refrained from crying. "Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up." But no allegation could ever penetrate the depths of what he said. Slowly and deliberately, Garrison stated, "You destroyed this family. You and your father. You kept him away from us. He thought we were the adversaries because of you. And he doesn't even return my calls now." Robyn said nothing. "What hurts the most, do you know?" He went on. "Not even the fact that he chose you. It's because he left us all as if we were never worthy in the first place. As if we were a botched experiment." Robyn's response trembled a little. "That is unfair. You have no idea what your father is going through. I am aware of his struggles. He is experiencing exactly what you would like him to experience, you. He can't breathe without requesting your permission because you have him so tightly gripped." Cody would never be able to forget what Robyn said next. "Perhaps this is a better option. Perhaps you and your siblings would have been better off being silent and obedient." The dominoes falling. The family's immediate and terrible response to the tape leak was swift. Cody got the encrypted audio link in a forwarded email from an unidentified source when he was at a men's convention in a hotel in Las Vegas. Something broke inside him when he hit play and heard Garrison's voice. In the motel room, his knees failed him. He repeated, his fingers groping for the pause button, "No, no, no, no." However, the harm had already been done. He became acutely aware of Robyn's betrayal, not only of his children but of Robyn herself, for the first time. When Janelle heard the call, she broke down in tears. After listening silently, Christine switched off her phone. "I knew all along," she whispered. But it's inexcusable to hear him say it, to hear how broken he was. The following morning, Mary shared a mysterious statement on Instagram. "Lies have short legs. But the truth? It stands tall and strong, even when it's too late." Cody's revelation and Robyn's denial. Robyn broke down when pressed. She sobbed resentfully on camera for a TLC exclusive that was never broadcast. She cried, "I never wanted this." Garrison was in discomfort. "What I stated was not intended. I was merely attempting to keep Cody safe. I felt afraid." However, the others no longer believed it. The floods were now open. "Keep Cody safe?" In a subsequent leaked video, Janelle yelled, "You were defending your authority. You allowed our kid to pass away feeling gaslight, abandoned, and unloved." Cody became unpredictable. 2 tapings were canceled by him. He ceased to address production. He completely stopped using social media. He then abruptly left Robyn's residence without anyone noticing. He didn't bring any luggage. He gave no explanation. He simply walked away. The call's history. Both media outlets and longtime watchers found the leaked call to be a flashpoint. Line by line, podcast hosts dissected the audio. Experts in mental health offered their opinions on the poisonous dynamics in the family. Executives of TLC were compelled to release a statement. "We are very grieved by Garrison Brown's terrible passing and are looking into the acquisition and distribution of sensitive materials pertaining to his last interactions. We will always have a place in our hearts for the whole Brown family." However, no corporate statement could make up for what the tape had revealed to the family. Garrison's last remarks to the one person he believed was responsible for their demise reverberated throughout the country. He pushed the truth into the light while he was in anguish. And now his voice will not be forgotten, even when he is silent. In what would turn out to be the most dramatic reunion episode in Sister Wives history, the family was summoned together. Desperate to preserve what remained of the broken story, TLC set up a neutral setting, a peaceful ranch-style lodge in southern Utah. The team was told to maintain a wide berth while the cameras were rolling. No nagging inquiries. No phony interviews. Unscripted, unadulterated anguish. It felt more like a trial than a reunion inside. First to come was Mary, who was dressed in subdued black for sadness rather than display. Her sorrow was honed to a keen edge. Since the recording leak, she hadn't spoken to Robyn in weeks. Mary had listened to the video over a dozen times, and it had been circulating nonstop. Every time, she concentrated on Robyn's response rather than Garrison's suffering. Perhaps this is the better option. Mary had been cut like a hot sword by their words. Robyn was clearly shaken when she sat on one end of the large table. She had gentle makeup and a little disheveled hair. Sitting next to her, Cody appeared to be a completely different person. His typical arrogance was gone. His beard was untrimmed, and his eyes were sunken. Mary, Christine, and Janelle were seated across from them. Janelle averted her gaze from Cody. Christine continued to fold her arms firmly. Mary, however, was the first to speak, measured and purposeful. "You stated that it was better this way," Mary replied in a steady yet unvarnished tone. "Tell me, Robyn. By that, what did you mean?" Robyn's bottom lip trembled. "I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I was attempting to keep him safe." Mary interrupted, her eyes penetrating her. "Isn't that the line? Always Cody. You were protecting Cody, never the children. Never us." Cody's voice was shaky when he looked up at last. Neither she nor any of us had any idea what Garrison was going through. Mary smacked the table with her palm. "We were aware. We decided to disregard it. You ceased answering your son's phone calls. You excluded him as he refused to submit to Robyn. And now that he's gone, we're expected to act as though it was a terrible accident?" Christine's eyes were now streaming with tears, and Janelle turned away, covering her lips with a quivering palm. Robyn fell apart. She sobbed uncontrollably as she fell into herself. "I didn't intend to cause him harm. I had no idea you didn't give a fuck, Robyn." Mary's voice rose. The purpose of that call was not to assist him. Reminding him that he was unimportant was the goal. "You suggested to a damaged, reclusive son that he could be better off being silent and devoted. And he's dead now." Cody got up. He appeared to be about to scream for a brief period. Rather, he merely gazed at Mary vacant. "I don't blame myself, do you think?" His voice was shaking as he said, "Do you really believe that I don't hear his voice in my mind every single day?" "No," Janelle said in a tearful whisper. "We believe Robyn's voice is louder to you." A broken family on camera. The climax stunned. The producers continued shooting. Later, the video will be shown in a shocking two-part program called Sister Wives: The Truth We Buried. Mary got up in the last few minutes of the altercation and approached Robyn. It appeared for a second that she may be sympathetic. Rather, she leaned in, her eyes clear and icy. "You gained entry into this household by deceit. You shattered all of our relationships. And because of you, we've now buried a child who felt unwelcome. Robyn, even if you're crying right now, you never cried when it counted." Robyn's face crumpled into her hands as she sobbed more intensely than before. After turning, Mary left the room. And she didn't turn around this time. Fallout post-shoot following that reconnection, Mary completely withdrew from any further filming. "I don't hate Robyn. I pity her," Christine said in an interview a few days later. "But I will never again put my trust in her." Janelle started the Every Child Heard campaign to advocate for a non-profit mental health foundation in Garrison's honor. Robyn and Cody stopped talking. Although there were rumors that they were splitting up, they never made an official statement. Additionally, viewers worldwide witnessed the collapse of a family too far gone to pretend, rather than a television program, as the reunion special aired. Following the reunion special, the days were a haze of sadness, headlines, and stillness. The public's response was brutal. Mental health experts exposed the poisonous dynamics that had long simmered beneath the surface of the Brown family's reality TV image, while fans bombarded TLC's social media with demands for accountability. However, the consequences was suffocating and personal for Kody Brown. He had believed for years that he was the misunderstood father figure, the unorthodox family's glue. But now that he was free of his illusions, with Garrison no longer there and Robyn broken with sorrow and shame, he had to deal with a stillness he could not ignore. The turning point it began late one evening. In the now eerily silent living room of Robyn's house in Flagstaff, Kody stood by himself. The kids had either grown up or become emotionally distant. Days before, Robyn had withdrawn to the bedroom upstairs and hardly talked. Grief was thick in the house. He was ridiculed from every angle by framed pictures of the big, beautiful family that they had once purported to be. An old photograph of Garrison in uniform caught his attention. Grinning. "I'm proud. Alive." Kody fell to the ground. He fell to his knees as the weight of everything suddenly hit him. The coldness of his own responses, the quiet of Garrison's missed calls, and the terrifying clarity of that call between his wife and his now-dead son that was leaked. Primal and unending, the sobbing flowed in waves. Kody eventually uttered the following words out at that very moment. "I let him down. I let them all down." The journey starts. Janelle was the first person Kody reached out to, but she didn't respond. Christine then responded with a single statement via text. "I hope you mean it, but it's too late." At last, he sent Gabriel a message. "Am I able to see you? Please." No response for days. Unexpectedly, Gabriel then consented to meet. Not in a home. Not on the set. However, at Garrison's tomb. The graveyard conversation nestled against the pine hills outside of Flagstaff. The cemetery seemed peaceful that cloudy morning. Cameras were prohibited. What transpired between Gabriel and Kody, however, was unlike from anything the family had ever encountered, according to witnesses. Kody came with a single picture of him and Garrison from years ago, smiling and coated in dust at a construction site. Gabriel stood close to the headstone, his mouth clenched and his arms folded. Kody came hesitantly, already shedding tears. Kody started. "You can't gave me." Gabriel's voice was piercing. Kody's gaze fell. "I simply want you to understand how sorry I am. I ought to have given him another call. I ought to have stood up for you two more. I let Robyn to Gabriel took over. No. Now, don't even consider blaming Robyn. You were that person. The decisions were yours. You chose her. You ignored us as if we were inconsequential. My brother passed just recently. Do you also wish to be forgiven?" Kody was unable to talk. His sobbing suffocated him. Gabriel's voice cracked as he continued. "I don't need your tears. I needed you here. He also required your affection. And while we pleaded for scraps, you gave it to her and her children." There was a long pause. Gabriel then took an unexpected action. He approached his father, put his hand on his shoulder, and uttered the following, "I don't pardon you. Not quite yet." Showing up, for once, is the first step in trying to fix what's left. Not for Robyn. Not for show. For us. Restoring from the BETRAYAL in the weeks that followed, Kody started to make amends in private rather than in public or on TV. During his visit to Madison, North Carolina, he sat calmly as she expressed her disappointment at his lack of response to Garrison's death. He sent letters, not excuses, but apologies, to each of his older children. He completely stopped shooting and wouldn't take part in any more TLC shows until he had, in his own words, faced every lie I told myself in them. Robyn? She stayed alone and hardly talked to Kody. There were rumors that a silent legal separation was being prepared. Kody was living alone for the first time in more than 10 years. He was by himself. Voluntarily. Gabriel's voice, the final note later. TLC aired a special tribute episode called Garrison, the Voice We Missed, which concluded with Gabriel standing close to his brother's headstone rather than Kody or the wives. Gabriel addressed the camera, saying, "He deserved better. From our father. From everyone. However, I will not allow him to be remembered as furious. He was nice. He had a sense of humor. He had a deep love. He served in the military. A son. A sibling. And we'll keep him alive, not just in sorrow, but in reality. The screen then went dark, leaving behind only the sound of the wind in the trees and the memory of a young man who stood up for what was right even when no one else wanted to hear it. After 2 months, the house in Flagstaff that was formerly called Robyn's Fortress was silent and empty. The blinds were still closed. Once immaculate and ornamental, the drapes were now sagging and sun-bleached. The kitchen sink was lined with empty mugs. The front hall was piled high with mail. Robyn Brown was surrounded by a quiet that was not tranquil but rather one of exile. For the first time in years, Robyn felt completely alone following the phone call leak, the reunion special, and the public breakdown of her marriage to Cody. However, Mary was not the source of the last knife. Not from Christine. Not even from Cody. It originated with her own kids. The kids expressed themselves. A private family group chat was the first step. Janelle started a thread and added Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, and Solomon to it, not to criticize Robyn, but to allow the Brown kids to open out about their loss. It was a component of the healing circle that Janelle had established with the elder siblings following the death of Garrison. The goal was straightforward: vulnerability and honesty. However, what started off as peaceful mornings swiftly evolved into something far more intense. Robyn's eldest son, Dayton, who is typically quiet, devoted, and passionately protective of his mother, suddenly spoke up. "Mom, I also heard the call, and I am no longer able to pretend. My brother was Garrison. You also caused him pain." After his message, there was an hour-long quiet. Aurora then answered, "You made terrible remarks. That call has been played 3 times for me. I used to believe that you were simply misinterpreted. Right now, I have no idea who you are." Later that week, Brianna and Solomon completely exited the group chat, even if they didn't immediately respond. They fled the house too. Dayton relocated to an apartment close to his university. Aurora traveled to Utah to stay with Christine. Cody's sister temporarily housed Solomon while custody negotiations were being finalized. Robyn was left alone in the house. Arrival of Janelle. The showdown. Janelle had no intention of confronting Robyn once more. She considered things over after the reunion special. However, something changed in Aurora when she arrived at her home in Utah, distraught and in tears. She went to Flagstaff by car. She didn't knock. For the first time in years, Robyn lacked the strength to stop her as she entered the house as if she had every right to be there. The creaking of the old floorboards was the only sound in the dark kitchen as the 2 women gazed at one another. Robyn appeared emotionally jangled, haggard, and hollowed out. Dark streaks of dry mascara were visible under her eyes. "What brings you here?" she asked in a raspy voice. Janelle acted without hesitation. "To complete this. To express what must be expressed. Additionally, to ensure that you are unable to turn it into another sob story. Ending the confrontation, you no longer get to play the victim," said Janelle. "Not in light of your remarks to Garrison. Not after the damage you caused to Cody's attachment to each of us. It took some time for this family to disintegrate. Your touch caused it to fall apart, slowly and deliberately. Robyn, it's unfair. None of this was something I requested. Janelle, you influenced each decision. When it was convenient, you let out a cry. You kept him apart from his own kids. You never considered us as family, yet you made every argument into an attack on your family. Never. We were roadblocks. Competition." "I loved him," Robyn said. "Janelle, so why did you assist him in leaving us? Why did you persuade him that Garrison's opinion was disrespectful?" "Robyn, he was a boy. A boy attempting to make his father answerable." Robyn's cheeks finally began to well up with tears once more, but Janelle didn't soften this time. "Janelle, now he's gone. Sitting here in your mausoleum of lies is all you can do. Even your children abandoned you. That ought to tell you everything." Robyn gripped her stomach as if she had been struck. "I didn't intend on losing them." "Janelle, Robyn, you didn't simply lose them. You chased them off." Janelle went to the mantel in the living room before she left. A framed picture of the whole family, before Robyn had joined, was still standing there. One of the Lehigh house's memories. Faces with smiles. Unity. She turned back and put a folded note next to it. She answered, "That's from Aurora. She promises to return once you stop deceiving yourself." Janelle then walked away. Robyn didn't observe. Cradling the message, but too scared to open it, she sank to the floor in the hallway. There was no longer banishment in the house's silence. It was a result. After the death of Garrison, the sorrow of Garrison's passing created something that years of dysfunction couldn't: unity. Even if the elder Brown children had long since moved out and started their own lives, some married, some parents, some estranged, Gabriel started it all with a single social media post. He was more than just my sibling. In a family that didn't want to hear the truth, he stood up for it. I want his legacy to have some significance. The post became widely shared. Comments were flooding in, from supporters, relatives, veterans, and mental health professionals. Additionally, the siblings Madison, Logan, Leon, Michael T, Paydon, and Hunter all shared their grief and recollections of Garrison. However, a plan was already starting to take shape behind the scenes. Heard, the siblings announced the establishment of a non-profit organization named after one of Garrison's final recorded words: "I just wanted to be heard." Heard, the Garrison Brown Foundation for Mental Health and Veteran Support. There were two objectives: offer young individuals, particularly those from broken households, mental health assistance. Provide transitional assistance to veterans returning to civilian life, something Garrison had privately battled. Madison was promoted to managing director. Logan oversaw relationships before moving into business development. The project's emotional spokesperson was Gabriel. Unexpectedly, Leon came back to assist with outreach and legal structuring. Hunter and Gwendolyn, two estranged siblings, also signed up. An outdoor amphitheater in Salt Lake City was to host the official launch. Journalists, mental health specialists, veterans organizations, and family friends were among the more than 500 invited attendees. Robyn and Cody were not invited, and they were shocked to hear of the incident, not from family, but from a tabloid leak. Cody gave Madison a call. His call was routed to voicemail by her. He attempted to text Gabriel. No response. At last, he sent an email to every child. "I can see your need for privacy, but this is also my son. I cherished him. Don't stop me from honoring him, please." The siblings decided in secret. It was decided unanimously that Robyn and Cody would not be permitted to go. The reason: a Garrison letter. Hunter's discovery of an unsent email draft in Garrison's old laptop was the last straw. 2 weeks prior to his passing, it was dated. The phrase "if I disappear" was in the subject line. The note wasn't a suicide. A letter of reckoning was what it was. "I want my siblings to know how much I cared for them in the event that I passed away. I don't want a phony funeral where Dad acts like we were close and Robyn sobs on TV. I'm looking for the truth. Don't lie. No changes. And whatever comes next, I want Mom Janelle to take the lead." During their Zoom chat, Hunter read it out loud while the siblings sobbed. The choice was also final. The launch, which took place at sunset under golden pink skies, was stunning and agonizing. With all of her kids there, Janelle lighted the first candle. Truly and Michael T stood with Christine. Mary stayed stoic, with their arms slung over their shoulder, and even Leon stood next to them. On a huge screen were pictures of Garrison's life, including him laughing with his brothers, building shelves for his mother, holding a rescued kitten, and wearing his National Guard uniform. Gabriel stepped onto the platform. There was only one crack in his voice. "We were instructed to play nice, remain silent, and remain faithful." Garrison, though? He was honest. He was more than just my sibling. He served as my reflection. I will now dedicate the remainder of my life to ensuring that people like him are heard. There was thunderous applause. Robyn and Cody had no empty seats assigned for them. Cody was sitting on the side of his bed, staring at his phone indifferently. When Madison finally sent him the webcast link, it sat unopened. Curled up in a window-facing chair, Robyn muttered, "Did they display pictures?" Cody remained silent. "They don't want us anymore," he replied plainly. Robyn looked aside. She did not provide consolation for the first time. She refrained from crying. She remained silent. She understood in her heart that this was the cost of denial of the truth, silence, and manipulation. A plaque was put up at the Foundation's new headquarters a month later. It says, "For Garrison, you weren't only a victim of silence. You were a lighthouse of reality." You will now always be heard. It was organized by a regional women's conference in Salt Lake City and was simply titled A Keynote Conversation on Grief and Female Empowerment. The majority of guests didn't anticipate fireworks. Mary Brown, Kody Brown's long-silent first wife, who is more well-known for her tragic loyalty than her voice, was supposed to have a quiet, introspective conversation. Nobody anticipated a shocking exposé that would leave 800 ladies in a ballroom gasping in shock and deal Robyn Brown's already damaged reputation a last blow. This was more than grief. It was the truth. Retribution. As well as liberty. Mary accepts the role with her eyes glowing with conviction. Mary exuded confidence as she strode out in a fitted dark green suit. Fans had watched her remain silent for years while Robyn and Cody manipulated her, and her family faded into the background. Not today, though. She inhaled deeply before starting. I didn't say anything for too long. Silence also kills. It destroyed my confidence and energy, and ultimately it led to the demise of a young guy who merely wished to be heard. I'm speaking now. I also won't stop. The revelation in Vegas. Mary started by going back in time to Las Vegas, when the family still exuded harmony. Robyn's deceit did not begin in Flagstaff. Vegas was where they began. She started emotionally separating Cody at that point, initially in a subtle way. Cody, you're under too much stress. You shouldn't have to put up with all of their drama. He also paid attention. Each and every time. During family meetings, she explained, Robyn would contact Cody in private to coach his emotions, undermine other wives, and then appear on TV with tearful concern. Mary bluntly remarked, she weaponized empathy. Cody devoured it. The fracture of Flagstaff then came the decision to go to Flagstaff, which Mary claimed was a Robyn-engineered escape plan, rather than a joint one. Her son disliked Vegas, so she pushed for the move. All of a sudden, we had to uproot our lives to accommodate her. Cody spun it as if it were for everyone. Who do you think got the greatest house, though? The greatest amount of room? The highest level of privacy? Robyn. And you know who rented the smallest flat in the worst area? Me. For a moment, her voice wavered, but she quickly recovered. I stopped being his wife and became a publicity stunt in Flagstaff. Robyn was playing the obedient victim all the time. Everything was broken by the lie, as Mary described the COVID split, which admirers now acknowledge as the start of the public's unraveling. The audience fell silent. Robyn turned the pandemic into a weapon. She fueled Cody's anxiety. We went to the grocery store, and all of a sudden we were being viewed as scary strangers. Her nanny, meanwhile, came and went as she pleased. But our children, our boys, our Garrison, they suffered embarrassment, isolation, and blame. Mary hesitated, her voice tensing. She then said to Garrison the most inexcusable thing. Maybe it's better this way, is something no stepmother should ever say, and he's gone now. Cody is also broken. And I'm no longer moved by Robyn's crocodile tears. The wife exile, the last betrayal when Robyn and Cody secretly attempted to remove Mary's status as the family's wife prior to their formal divorce. Mary startled the audience by disclosing something the public had never seen. Over dinner, they suggested that since it was less confusing, I might want to start referring to myself as the family aunt. When they said that, they grinned. As if it was useful. Robyn was sipping her wine when I sobbed in the parking lot. The audience erupted in gasps. She want complete emotional capital, complete authority, and complete lack of accountability. And now she's surprised that she's by herself? That her children left? That we've finished acting? Leaning forward, Mary met the crowd's gaze. To be clear, Robyn Brown does not consider herself a victim. The most emotionally damaging years in this family's history were planned by her. And if I'm the villain for stating this truth, then so be it. If nothing else, I didn't watch helplessly while a child drowned in rejection. The reaction of the crowd, the entire ballroom stood in a surprised, loud standing ovation as Mary concluded. Women cried. Some yelled, yes, from the spectators. Others just stood with their hands clutched over their lips, motionless. Mary took a step back, her eyes strong yet shiny. Garrison wasn't the only one she spoke for. Not for herself alone. However, for each woman who has been marginalized, silenced, gaslight, and then asked to smile despite it. According to reports, Robyn Brown witnessed the speech in real time. She reportedly broke down in tears midway through and shut off her phone for 3 days. According to close insiders, Cody was furious and said Mary has no loyalty anymore, but he declined to respond. Clips of the speech leaked online and received over 25 million views in just 72 hours, despite TLC's refusal to run it, citing it as unauthorized. The new mission of Mary later. Mary said that she would be publishing a memoir with the title, The First Wife, Loving Him Wasn't Enough, documents her private anguish, emotional journey, and the reality behind each fictitious incident. She says one eerie remark in the teaser trailer for the book, there may have been 4 spouses in the family. However, only one of us ever needed to demonstrate her belonging. And now, I don't want to anymore. For months following Garrison's memorial service, the Robyn Brown that the world had known, crying, ready for the camera, and constantly pampered by Cody, was no longer there. All that was left was the spirit of a woman, who was locked up in a secluded cabin outside of Sedona, Arizona. Originally intended as a place for Cody and Robyn to escape the noise, the mansion had been discreetly acquired in a family trust during the COVID years. It was now both her prison and her haven. No Cody, no contact. Robyn had completely withdrawn from public life. All social media was erased by her. Her name was removed from the future TLC shows. Her kids were homeschooled by a part-time tutor when they stopped going to Flagstaff schools. She ate by herself. Hardly seldom left the house. And when she did, she avoided any public contact by wearing a scarf, sunglasses, and a head down. She was emotionally unrecognizable, insiders said, and the crying had ceased. Her calmness had become uncanny. Keep quiet. Detached. Then, however, the quiet was broken with court documents. Cody files for disownment and legal divorce. The last and most surprising action that Cody Brown did after months of silence was to file for Robyn Brown's formal divorce and to revoke his legal guardianship of her 3 oldest children. The documents were submitted to Navajo County, Arizona's private courthouse. Although it was sealed, startling information was disclosed in a court note that was leaked. Mr. Brown requests that his legal union with Ms. Robyn Brown be dissolved because of irreversible relationship damage, negative publicity, and a decline in his family's status. Citing the collapse of trust and familial integrity, he also asks for the removal of guardianship and legal duty for Aurora Brown, Brianna Brown, and David Dayton Jessup, legal adult. The leak that caused Robyn to fail. Robyn apparently passed out in the kitchen after being handed the papers, unable to talk for almost an hour. Aurora drove 3 hours to console her mother after Solomon, who had been seated at the table, contacted her. By the very man she built her empire on. The lady who had once cried over family togetherness was now legally isolated, shunned, and disowned. The last talk, Robyn and Cody, a person close to the family, said that Cody consented to 1 phone call following the filing. It wasn't long. Chilly. And last. Robyn, you promised to always keep my children safe. Cody, I kept you safe. And you destroyed everything in our immediate vicinity. Robyn, I can't repair it anymore. I am unable to look at myself. So you're just, Robyn said, erasing us? You erased them first, said Cody. Garrison believed we didn't love him when he passed away. His face is what I see every night. And in that fucking recording, I can hear your voice. I'll always hear that. He hung up after that. The reaction of the family on her personal blog, Janelle made the following discreet statement. It's early, too late. However, I guess every house that is constructed by deceit eventually falls apart. In an interview, Christine stated, he picked her, and now he's fleeing the chaos he caused. When asked on a podcast, Mary just said, karma takes its time. However, it is comprehensive when it does arrive. Aurora shared a tragic 2-word Instagram story. He went out. The exposure to the public following intense criticism from viewers who claimed the network was attempting to rebrand Cody and Robyn without taking responsibility. TLC was forced to cancel a planned spin-off called Sister Wives, Rebuilding the Brown Legacy. Instead, the producers revealed a one-time documentary called The Last Wife, The Rise and Fall of Robyn Brown. The film, which is told by former producers, child psychologists, and estranged family members, examines how Robyn progressively came to dominate the Brown family and, in the end, served as the catalyst for its dissolution. The last photo weeks later, a paparazzi photo appeared. Robyn was carrying a cart with a single bag of groceries and no ring on her finger as she walked alone across the parking lot of a grocery shop in Sedona. She was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, had no makeup on, and her hair was pulled up in an untidy bun. A missing cat flyer was taped to a light pole behind her. Ironically, it said, "Responses to the name Shadow. Last observed gradually vanishing. If located, kindly come back." The symbolism was readily understood by all. Let us know in your comments. And stay tuned by subscribing our channel to get more updates like this. Thanks everyone.